Hello and welcome to the last of 4 programmes featuring Club 100's race day coverage from round 6 of our Sprints Championship. It's in the August heat for some midsummer madness as Club 100 returns to sprint action on its second visit of the season to Buckmore Park. In terms of the championship, well, there probably isn't much of one really. 8 wins out of 10 starts so far for Jonathan Elliott equates to a 91-point lead, and that is huge by Club 100 standards at mid-season. And it's almost certainly over. The heavyweight class title, that is. It's just a matter of when, and it may well be all over at the earliest possible junction, and that would probably be at Lyd in the middle of September if Jonathan's dominance remains unchecked. Beyond that, however, second Darrell Law through 8th James Hattersley are covered by just 54 points, and with drop scores you can probably add in Mike Townley and Daniel French, so we have 9 drivers fighting over the runners-up spot. Now that's an interesting competition. Elliott is just a class apart. The format for the class is time qualifying practice to determine the grid for championship scoring pre-A and pre-B finals. The top 4 from the pre-B move up to the pre-A final, with fastest lap times in the pre-finals determining the grid for the B and the main Trophy A final. Top 2 finishers in the B final move up to the back of the A. The best 16 final results from the 11-round season will determine the 2015 champion. It's just not going to take 11 rounds. We'll catch up with the top 20 presently, but this is the pre-B final. For the remainder, Daniel French in pole position ahead of Michael Jungling, Nicholas Reynolds and Roger Mullen on row 2, Michael Dendy and Tim Williams on row 3, Andrew Cherry and Darren Townsley on row 4, Ben Bennyworth and Michael Ballinger round out the top 10. There's 26 karts on the grid, plenty of time to get through the field for qualification. It's 4 to qualify, you've got to finish in that top 4. And it's Daniel French in pole position, and it's hard to look past Daniel French to win this one, certainly starting from pole. On the outside, Michael Jungling, I think, has just got ahead of Dan French, turning into turn 1, but I don't think he'll hold the position. And Roger Mullen is coming through from the second row to get on the bumper of Daniel French. Through hairpin 1, across to hairpin 2. Fairly tidy. No contact so far. It's a good clean start in the heavyweight pre-A final. Whoa, but look at that Michael Jungling running so far out wide. Coming back in the mid-pack. Tim Williams, I think, is the victim of a bit of wild driving, and somebody's fallen off there down at Pullman's. Into paddock. It's getting a little bit messy later on in the lap. Jungling making contact there with kart number 19, which is Darren Townsley. Tim Williams sticking his nose up the inside of Cafe Curve. Not a conventional overtaking spot, that's true. Kart 95, Billy Clark, a very late entry. Oh, he's driven up from Lyd this morning. Made his entry over the Facebook page at about 11 o'clock last night. Letting the field settle down. This is a 13-lap final, slightly reduced. We've already had 1 attempt to start this pre-B final. No point in showing that. There was nothing particularly entertaining about it, just a little bit messy. So coming down, and we're already then closing out lap 2. On board with Jonathan McLeod ahead of him. Big battle going on. We come round to finish lap 2. And it's Daniel French leading by half a second from Roger Mullen, Nicholas Reynolds, Michael Dendy in 4th place, Michael Ballinger in 5th. McLeod trying to make ground up through the field. He is fairly well down. It'll be Ben Daly and James McCutcheon and Gareth Bertram ahead of him. Streaming through the S's, running downhill, flat through Syme Sweep. Through Pullman's, probably a lift into Pullman's and then a break into paddock. Across the bottom of the circuit to Garda. Ballinger to the inside of Michael Dendy. And that's 4th place, so that would be qualification at the moment for Ballinger. Through Cafe Curve. Ballinger there across start finish. Daniel French pulling clear. And Darren Townsley trying to find a way past Dendy now. Obviously conscious of not letting Ballinger get clear. Michael Jungling, after a poor start off the front row, trying to pick up spots. Picking up a spot there from Nick Bredner. Townsley loses another spot. Oh dear, and McCutcheon's been turned around off hairpin 2. The laps turn fairly quickly here at Buckmore Park, and we're already about to round out lap 4. We're already a third of the way into this race. James English with his Mansell replica lid, trying to get the move in, can't get it done. Paul Goddard behind. Tim Williams has rather gone backwards through this final. He's now down in 12th place. And Goddard trying to find a way past English in their fight for 10th. Yellow flag out at hairpin 1 for McCutcheon, and Raymond Greaves being restarted. Racing back on then out of hairpin 2. And Ballinger's under pressure as they go down the hill into Pullman's. He's made it down to Paddock, and he's still clear of Nicholas Reynolds. So Ballinger moving through and through to 3rd place. So a little bit more comfort there for Ballinger. Nicholas Reynolds is now sat on the bubble, trying to hold off Michael Dendy. Further back now, Billy Clark in the red lid, kart 95, trying to go past Paul Goddard, but he's not having it. Tim Williams up the inside into hairpin 1 perhaps, and Clark's boxed in behind Paul Goddard, and it looks as though he may have had contact with Goddard, judging by the hand gesture. Fairly universal sign, that one. James English goes through on Clark at hairpin 2. Quite a nice little stoush going on here. So Goddard's at the front of it, up to 9th place, fighting with Clark. Tim Williams, James English, Sam Jones, and English down the inside of Williams at Paddock. From a long way back, gets it stopped, gets it turned. More fighting going on. Daly in kart number 12, moving ahead of Billy Clark if he can. More contact off the corner. It's all kicking off here in the pre-B final. Nick Bregner trying to find a way past Michael Jungling for 6th. It's not going to be at hairpin 1. Daniel French's lead is out to 1.1 seconds. He's pulling clear, and Roger Mullen is pulling clear as well. Those two look like certainties to qualify. Ballinger is 4.5 seconds behind the race leader, and over a second ahead of Nicholas Reynolds. He in turn's got the best part of 3/4 of a second on Michael Dendy in 5th. Jungling still holding off Nick Bredner. There's your race leader. Daniel French, 15 is Roger Mullen. Gap then to Michael Ballinger in kart 38. Nicholas Reynolds in 4th place. Dendy falling away. Nick Bredner trying to go by Jungling as they go down into Conway's turn 1. Daly trying to go the long way around Billy Clark. That probably won't work. And this is the battle for 15th place. Jonathan McLeod currently leading. Gareth Bertram, Ben Bennyworth and Ian Zumble. Side by side, kart 49, Gareth Bertram trying to find his way past. Actually, that's Raymond Greaves in kart 42. So he's a lap or so down. So running deep into this pre-B final, and Ben Daly and Billy Clark still going hard at it through the centre corner. And James English looking to go past Paul Goddard into turn 1, sticks his nose in. Not much of a braking zone there, so there really isn't a lot about braking that you can do. It's all about momentum up to turn 1. And a little bit of slipstream. Down the inside on the brakes into hairpin 2 is more like it. Can't get it done though. And Goddard keeps the spot. He remains in 9th place. Sweeping downhill, and Tim Williams is coming back to this pair. Daniel French sets another fastest lap as he moves on to lap 10. Goddard and English side by side up to Cafe Curve. English lifts. There's a yellow flag out for kart number 5. That's Ian Zumble. Probably been off. It's a strange place to go off over start finish. Downhill once again, and Nick Bredner continues to follow Michael Jungling, looking for the clean pass. Michael Dendy ahead. These three are probably now sorting out grid positions for the main B final, where there's 2 remaining qualifying spots. as it looks as though Reynolds is looking fairly safe in 4th place as he goes through Cafe Curve. Gap to Dendy, Jungling and Bredner. Oh, side by side, English and Goddard through Cafe Curve. It's not an overtaking spot. Dendy missing his apex at hairpin 1. Jungling's not in a position to take full advantage, and Bredner's back on his bumper. Fastest lap times, if you see them pop up, there to set the grid for the B final. Certainly for these drivers that aren't going to qualify outside the top 4. Ballinger puts a lap on Jack Markham. Your race leader coming through to start his penultimate lap. Daniel French, we don't see much of them. If you're on your own, we're always looking for the action here in Club 100. Daly catching up with James English on the crisscross off centre. He's got the spot, and they move on to their lap 12. So Jungling, a green plate to signify that he's a super heavyweight. A little bit heavier. They have a subclass of their own. Jungling will be hoping to get good points by qualifying for the main A final if he starts up front in the main B. But coming round to start his final lap, Daniel French has been the class of the field. Roger Mullen is no slouch either, and he is going to comfortably qualify in 2nd place. Michael Ballinger has had to come through from 5th or 6th out of turn 1 at the beginning. And it looks as though Nicholas Reynolds is going to hold on 8.5 seconds behind the race leader, but still 3/4 of a second ahead of Michael Dendy. Final lap board out for James English. Doesn't seem to have gone down too well. Daniel French, Roger Mullen, Michael Ballinger go through. 4th place, Nicholas Reynolds. Lapped cart in between him and Michael Dendy. Then it's Jungling, Bredner, Darren Townsley. But your race leader is in the centre chicane. It doesn't look like one to me, but that's what they call it. Now into Cafe Curve, the final corner. Daniel French qualifies to the pre-A final with Roger Mullen, Michael Ballinger and Nicholas Reynolds. So on to the pre-A final, the top 20 qualifiers from time practice. In pole position, your championship leader, Jonathan Elliott, on the front row with him Mike Townley, Eric Mignon and Dave Price on row 2, Martin Gurnett and James Hattersley on row 3, Mark Turner, Ben Cottle on row 4, Alex Fell and Roger Davis make up the top 10. There's 20 qualifiers plus the 4 qualifiers from the pre-B final, Dan French, Roger Mullen, Michael Ballinger and Nicholas Reynolds. All the main protagonists in the championship are here and ready to rock and roll, looking for the green light. Elliott drops the hammer, gets the jump on Mike Townley. Townley in on his bumper, he'll be happy with that. Eric Mignon rather missed that one, and Dave Price from 4th has gone past him as they go down a hairpin one for the first time. Hattersley on the bumper of Eric Mignon in 5th place. We've got a lot of cameras in this pre-A final. Oh, and it's all getting a little bit busy at the hairpin. On board with Tim Hill, looking at the back of Paul Williams, sweeping through the S's, but already down a paddock. It's Elliott, Townley, Price, gap to Mignon. Martin Gurnett off the road, trying to get ahead and stay ahead of James Canham. Simon Lloyd down the inside of Alex Fell into Garda. Fell side by side with Tim Hill in his distinctive chrome lid. On board with Daniel French, who's a slow starter in all these events. It appears he's already chopping through the field from the back of the grid. So lap 1, Jonathan Elliott's lead is 0.6 of a second. I've got an awful feeling this final's going the way that most of the others have this season. If he starts up front, he's gone. French now caught up with Alex Fell, trying to find a way through. Side by side through the S's. Dan French on a mission. So Simon Lloyd to the inside of Paul Williams. Out of Garda, that's for 12th place. The field streaming through. Dave Price ahead of Mike Townley. Julian Clist looking to the inside of Mark Turner, and that would be for about 8th place. Back on board with Tim Hill, that's Lenny Wood ahead of us, going narrow to hold him off. Into hairpin 1, a little bit of a love tap, was a little bit of help there from Darrell Lowe on the outside, who will be badly positioned for the S's. Hill's going to take that spot back, I think. No, he's going to drop in behind. Darrell Lowe moves up to 15th place. Stuart Kirk trying to get on the bumper of Tim Hill. James Canham looking to the inside of James Hattersley, can't get it done. Paul Williams a long way back on Ben Cottle, and Simon Lloyd's gone through as well. So Williams into the top 10 for the first time. Down the inside, kart 37, or Michael Ballinger rather than kart 38. Fighting hard with Dan French. French had to lift there into Cafe Curve. Made me hesitate. I thought they were going to go side by side. As they are here, Simon Lloyd to the inside of Paul Williams in a hairpin 1. Easing him out wide. Will the position be his? I think it might be. No, Williams back through with the hairpin. And Ben Cottle back on his bumper. But the crisscross behind, and Simon Lloyd is back through and into 11th place. Through to the S's. Hattersley and Canham together again, and Canham's going to throw one up the inside this time. Runs a long way in. Will he hold the spot over to Garda? Back with Tim Hill briefly. Lenny Wood to the inside of Jeffrey Williams, and they make contact. And Lenny Wood's in the tyres fairly deep and fairly hard. Simon Lloyd squeezed by Paul Williams over Cafe Curve. That puts Williams on the grass. It's all kicking off here in the Pre-A final. Darrell Lowe sticks his nose in on Simon Lloyd. Julian Clist is caught up with James Hattersley as James Canham has pulled clear. Tim Williams trying to close in on Simon Lloyd. We better reset this field. Things are getting busy. Martin Gurnett closing in on Eric Mignon. That's the fight for 4th place. There's your race leader, Jonathan Elliott, pulling clear. He's now 0.7 of a second clear of Mike Townley. Dave Price ahead of Eric Mignon. Under pressure from Martin Gurnett, and around the outside, Mark Turner of Jeffrey Williams, who's just been restarted. Desperate not to slow down. He probably can see what's gone on behind between Paul Williams and co. Simon Lloyd looking at the inside of Ben Cottle. Cottle down the inside of Jeffrey Williams. Williams needs to get out the way. He's a lap down. Oh, Tim Hill, that's not a passing spot. Gets away with it, I think. Only because he didn't knock Ben Cottle into a spin. He was awfully close to Simon Lloyd as well. James Hattersley, this is the fight for 7th place with Julian Clist. Clist to the inside at Garda. That's a good move. Running Hattersley out wide. Can he hold the spot? He can't. And that'll give hope to Mark Turner to close back in. Darrell Lowe behind him in 10th place. So Darrell making excellent progress. He started in 20th in this Pre-A final, up to 10th. And Clist has now gone through to 7th place. So James struggling for pace in this Pre-A final. And Turner's there. Will he throw one up the inside? No, hard on the bumper though, off the corner. And Hill down the inside of Ben Cottle. This time he does it cleanly. But it's side by side, and Ben Cottle takes the position back as Hill goes in deep, has to square off the corner late. And Cottle has the better run out the corner, and Paul Williams from a long way back. That puts him back in the top 10. And Hill's gone through this time, and Darrell Lowe has gone back through on Paul Williams, and Simon Lloyd cheekily is on his bumper, trying to pick up a spot as well. Cottle holds off Stuart Kirk through Senna, and we're back with Daniel French looking at the back of Stuart Kirk. He started 21st, he's only got as far as 16th, but I don't think he's going to stop there. Down the inside from quite a way back from Mark Turner. He'll go a long way in, but I think he's got the spot. And here comes Dan French, awfully close to taking out Ben Cottle there. Stuart Kirk keeps 16th place, and French is under pressure. If you shoot, you've got to score, because somebody's going to be piling in behind if you're not careful. Elliott still leads from Townley, and gap to Dave Price. You're not missing much up front. All the fun's in the midfield. We're back on board with Tim Hill. Down at paddock, Darrell Lowe to the inside of James Hattersley. What a good pre-final for Darrell Lowe. He's on the move and on a mission, trying to keep the championship alive. End of lap 8, and Jonathan Elliott's lead is a second over Mike Townley. 1.7 seconds ahead of Dave Price. Darrell Lowe moves through on Mark Turner. So Darrell moves into 8th place. Paul Williams trying to get a position back from Simon Lloyd. Under pressure from James Hattersley. And indeed Tim Hill now on the bumper of James as well. 3 wide into the S's. Hold your breath on that one. No, they've gone to single file wisely. Downhill with Ben Cottle, we cut back to Martin Gurnett, who has picked off Eric Mignon for 4th place. Down the inside of James Hattersley, Tim Hill. A lot of laps round Buckmore Park over the years. Some favoured techniques, and one of them is diving down the inside at Paddock. Uphill and on to another lap, and we begin lap 10. We're in the closing stages. This final also shortened due to a bit of a messy start to the first attempt to start it. No point in showing it really, unless you see the shortened version of the show. Stuart Kirk to the inside of Ben Cottle. Goes through, and Dan French picks up a spot on the exit of hairpin 2. Squeezes Cottle in the S's, makes him lift. Mark Turner under pressure on Paul Williams. Williams has been doing that move most of this final, and he's done it again, and he's back in 10th place. Turner down to 11th, Tim Hill in 12th, James Hattersley sliding away in 13th, and coming round to start another lap, lap 11 of 13, and Martin Gurnett under pressure still from Eric Mignon. Mark Turner desperate to hold off Tim Hill. This is for 11th place. Paul Williams getting away, Turner going narrow. Oh, I think he sold himself, went too narrow, too deep. And Tim Hill goes through easily on the exit. Stuart Kirk trying to find a way past James Hattersley for 13th, can't get it done. Maybe there's a chance for Dan French, but not in the S's. I would think that French is going to throw one down the inside maybe at Paddock, or maybe it's at Garda. Your race leader, Johnny Elliott, still clear of Mike Townley. The pair well clear of Dave Price in 3rd place. That's your top 3, fairly clear. 4th place, well, that's up for grabs. And then 6th place, Cannon under pressure from Julian Clist. Simon Lloyd looking fairly safe. You can't say the same for Paul Williams. Tim Hill closing in behind. So the battle for 4th place, Martin Gurnett in the red, Eric Mignon in the black and white. Paul Williams now under pressure. And here comes Tim Hill, easing inside, easing out wide, running wide. Side by side in the S's. Take a deep breath. Williams forced to lift. And somebody's off, I think that's Ben Cottle. Williams looking to the inside of Tim Hill down at Paddock, can't get it done. On to the final lap then for Jonathan Elliott. He's 0.8 of a second clear of Mike Townley. Dave Price is comfortably going to finish in 3rd place. Still game on for 4th, still game on for 6th place, and Darrell Lowe is looking to go past Julian Clist if he can. Daniel French on the bumper of James Hattersley, Stuart Kirk beyond. This is the fight for about 14th, 13th place. Yellow flag out there. Racing briefly curtailed. Jonathan Elliott's down in Paddock. Just got to make sure you don't make any mistakes. He's cruising to his 9th win of the season and taking another step towards the championship. Into the final corner, your race winner in the Pre-A final. Class apart once again, Jonathan Elliott, Mike Townley, Dave Price is 3rd, Martin Gurnett finishes in 4th place, ahead of Eric Mignon, gap then to James Canham, holding off Darrell Lowe and Julian Clist in 8th place. Simon Lloyd, Tim Hill round out the top 10. I hope you've got your breath back after that one. We're now on to the B final. I can't promise more of the same, but we'll do our very best. In pole position, looking for 2 qualifying spots, Ben Daly and Nick Bredner on the front row, Michael Jungling and James English on row 2, Darren Townsley and Paul Goddard on row 3, Michael Dendy and Andrew Cherry on row 4, Tim Williams and Billy Clark on row 5. I think it's about 22 on the grid for this one, all the way down to James McCutcheon and Edward Attard on the last row. Looking for the green light now. Daly controls the pace, he drops the hammer. Bredner's missed the start, or perhaps he was just keen to let Daly have it so he could have the inside and be on his bumper into turn 1. Expect to see some tactical driving here, perhaps from Bredner, just so long as Ben Daly pulls clear. He's run wide, jungling in 3rd place. James English will be conscious he wants to be by in the red suit in kart 52. Round the outside of kart number 7, Jonathan McLeod goes through. That's in the midfield, about 12th place. Sweeping downhill. Trying to cut the corner where you can. Bredner looking to the inside to take the lead into Garda, and he's done it. But he goes in deep, and on the exit, Daly comes back at him, and look at that. James English has moved up to 3rd place, and Jonathan McLeod has picked up a few spots as well. He's ahead of Tim Williams. He's behind here as we look. He's behind Paul Goddard as they sweep into turn 1 and begin lap 2. McLeod up 4 places on that opening lap. It's been a cracking start for Jonathan. So he runs in 8th place, soon to become 7th, so long as he can make this turn on the exit. Has he got it done? Goddard coming straight back at him. Side by side in the S's, give each other some room. That was a squeeze. Well, we saw some of that in the pre-A final. I'm not surprised we're seeing it now in the B final. Things getting a little bit more desperate. Billy Clark from a long way back, forcing Tim Williams off the road. Well, there is an escape route there, across the G block on the outside. I don't think he'll pick up a penalty for that one. James English and Michael Jungling fighting hard, and Darren Townsley right in the mix with him, and Michael Dendy. So we've got a 4-way fight as they move on to lap 3, and that fight is over 3rd place. That's not qualification. Daly and Bredner up the road, and as I say, it wouldn't surprise me if Daly and Bredner work together and James English has spun away any chance of qualification and made an even bigger hole. Townsley now clear in 3rd place, and Jonathan McLeod is up to 4th. Well, he's made a cracking start, and the pieces have fallen very kindly for him. Can McLeod make it through to the main show? Tim Williams fighting hard with Billy Clark into Garda. And as we come round to finish lap 3, this was a clean start. We've had no false starts, so this will be a 15-lap final. Ben Daly leads by 0.2 of a second ahead of Nick Bredner. 1.4 seconds clear of Darren Townsley. Jonathan McLeod in 4th place, 2 seconds off qualification. That's a lot of work, even with the remaining 11 or 12 laps. So Daly continues to lead Bredner, and Bredner looks happy to follow. Can Townsley or McLeod do anything about the leading pair that are looking at qualification? Oh, this is from a long way back. McLeod does it. Oh, he's caught the tyres. Now the tyres are being treated as cones this weekend. You hit one, you do risk getting a penalty for hitting the curbs and the tyres stroke cones. Now I think McLeod may be in trouble with that one. He came from a very long way back in a hurry, and that can happen. Bredner down the inside, running in deep, a bit crossed up. And will he hold the spot? No, he won't. Daly back in front. Bredner back on his bumper as they run into the S's. There's Darren Townsley. There's Townsley. The gap between him and Bredner is 2.2 seconds. How long before Jonathan McLeod strikes again, perhaps? He's within a kart length or so behind Michael Jungling, and it's a gap to Goddard, Williams, Clark. Kart number 7 is Andrew Cherry. 30 is Sam Jones, and then Andy Clark. On lap 6, and Clark comes from a long way back and makes contact with Paul Goddard. Not the first time he did that in the pre-B final, as I recall. To the same reaction from Goddard. Downhill through Syme Sweet. Great corner to drive, as flat as you dare. Cut a little bit of corner in Pullman's, perhaps, so long as no one's watching. Tim Williams to the inside of Clark at Garda, runs him a long way out wide, and that's let Cherry through. Now Goddard's got a little bit of breathing space He's running in 6th place. Tim Williams in 7th. Andy Clark looking to the inside of Sam Jones into turn 1, gets it done. And that's Clark moving into the top 10 of this B final. Townsley under pressure from McLeod, and McLeod's done it cleanly this time. Now, if he clips the cone, it's probably a 1-place deduction. So he really does need to win this one to be demoted a position, to finish 2nd, to qualify. Hope you understood that. I shan't be repeating it. So Daly and Bredner continuing to work together, and you can see what McLeod's got to do. He's got to run them down, and he's got to pass them 8 laps, and he's 2.4 seconds down, so he's got to find 0.3 of a second and find 2 overtaking manoeuvres in 8 laps. It's a big ask. 0.3 of a second may not sound much, but in karting terms, that's quite a bit. So Daly and Bredner, and you can see that Peace is pretty much broken out there. Dendy down the inside of Raymond Greaves at the hairpin. Can he get it done? Yes, he has. So that's Dendy moving up to about 13th place. Back on board with McLeod. There's the task. Pushing on. Beginning to drop. Darren Townsley, who's under pressure from Michael Jungling. Now really what Jonathan needs here is for these two to start fighting tooth and nail, but I just can't see it. Bredner continues to follow. It would be different if they were racing over 2nd and 3rd places with someone up the road, but there's just not a huge requirement to fight hard to get through to the back of the main A final. They're fighting over 25th and 26th on the grid, which is hardly a problem about which side you're going to start at the back of the grid. But it looks as though it's game on. Nick Bredner moves to the lead inside of Garda on Ben Daly. And just to hold the spot, although Daly's coming back at him up to Cafe Curb, but the position is his. And I guarantee that they will have lost a little bit of ground on Jonathan McLeod. So we start lap 10. And McLeod is now 1.9 seconds behind. So he was the best part of half a second faster on that last lap. He could do with a few more laps of battling between the leading pair. Looks as though Bredner, though, has put the foot down, dropped the hammer, and is checking out. And McLeod will have to hurry. Townsley's got a bit of a breathing space now on Michael Jungling in 5th place. Paul Goddard continues to run in 6th place, but it's a long way off from the front of this race. He's 8.5 seconds behind the race leader, and nearly 5 seconds behind Michael Jungling in 5th place. So qualification is going to be sorted out between this top 5. Looking for Goddard behind. Here he is. Coming under pressure from Tim Williams, somebody I would have expected perhaps to be further forward and looking to get in the main 8, but it's not happened for Tim today. So Goddard continues to run in 6th, Tim Williams in 7th, Andrew Cherry 8th, Billy Clark in 9th, and Andy Clark remains in 10th place. You can see the battle going on behind. We'll probably get a look in a second into the S's. There it is, Andrew Cherry under pressure from Clark. Kart 33 is Ben Bennyworth, and Kart 30 is Sam Jones. Jungling goes ahead of Darren Townsley. But we're moving into the closing stages now. We're on to lap 12. Williams still looking for a way by Paul Goddard. Can he get it done? Will he get a run up to turn 1? Or Billy Clark takes a look over his shoulder there. Williams conscious of Billy Clark behind, coming forward. And Andrew Clark looking for a way past Andrew Cherry. Michael Dendy in behind. Down the inside, goes through. Will he hold the spot? Yes. And he'll hold it into the S's with Sam Jones down the inside. Darren Townsley on Jungling, looking to get that spot back again. This is the fight for 4th place, and they're really just racing for pride now. I don't think they're going to qualify from where they are. On to lap 13. 3 laps from the finish. On board with Jonathan McLeod, looking at Ben Daly in 2nd place. That would be enough, but has he got a penalty for that clatter into the tyres? I fear he has. So Williams still trying to find a way past Billy Clark. Andrew Cherry on his bumper. Love tap into the hairpin. Michael Dendy coming under pressure from car 33, Ben Bennyworth. Side by side into the S's maybe. Yeah, Bennyworth going for it. Gets the spot. Andrew Clark, and then a gap to Sam Jones and Ian Zumble. Sweeping through Pullmans. Chance maybe for Williams on Clark. Up to Garda. Back marker just been restarted there. Does Clark a favour really. Narrows the road a little bit more. And it looks as though Clark is closing in on Paul Goddard for 6th place. Going on to the penultimate lap of this main B final. More contacts. I'm not quite sure what was being attempted there. Tim Williams goes back through. He'll have the inside for hairpin 2 and into the S's. And McLeod has finally caught up with Ben Daly. So he's in striking range, but I'm afraid Nick Bredner's up the road. Fingers crossed, perhaps he wants to be able to argue that he doesn't deserve that penalty. It was a bit of a lunge on Darren Townsley. I don't think it's going to be one that he can argue if he's got it. Oh, and Billy Clark's in the tyres. And he's hit the camera. That's Andrew Cherry, parked at the side of the road. So on to the final lap. Ben Bennyworth trying to hold off. Andy Clark runs in wide, misses his apex, and this will be a chance for Clark into hairpin 1. Clark down the inside. So that's Clark up to 8th place. Down the inside, Jonathan McLeod hits 2nd place. But I'm afraid Nick Bredner's up the road. There he is, going past the stricken Andrew Cherry. Billy Clark on the left, into the final corner. Nick Bredner wins the B final ahead of Jonathan McLeod on the road. But yes, Ben Daly is promoted back to 2nd as Jonathan McLeod picks up a penalty. Michael Jungling in 4th, Darren Townsley, and Paul Goddard holds off Tim Williams to the finish. And he's happy with that, and so are we. Last final of the day from Buckmore Park, and it's got a lot to live up to because that was quite an entertaining pre-A final that we had. Well, chopping through from 20th on the grid to 7th, Darrell Lowe is in pole position for the main A final. Mike Townley again on the front row. Jonathan Elliott is now on row 2 with Dave Price. Roger Mullen, Simon Lloyd on row 3. Martin Gurnett, Daniel French out of the pre-B final has qualified in 8th place for this one. Lenny Wood and Julian Cliss round out the top 10. 2 drivers join us from the B final to make this a grade of 26. Nick Bredner and Ben Daly looking for the red light to turn green at start finish, and we're racing. And we're all pushing hard, all loading up into turn 1. Townley looking to go around the outside of Darrell Lowe. That's optimistic. He'll be trying to hang on. But Jonathan Elliott's on Darrell Lowe's bumper into hairpin 1. Will they all make it through? Side by side, 3 wide here. Eric Mignon on the outside of Mark Turner. On board with Tim Hill. You're looking on the left at Lenny Wood, on the right at James Canham. Into the S's, the big squeeze. Downhill into Simon Sweep and through Pullmans. Townley looking to the inside of Simon Lloyd, can't get it done. Oh dear. Martin Gurnett has collected Alex Fell. Not going to apportion any blame there. It's just too many carts into too tight a space. Side by side, and it's not giving up either. Out of centre. Through and on to lap 2, and it's Elliott, Lloyd, Mike Townley, Dave Price, 4 away at the front. But beyond them, Darrell Lowe has pulled out a few car lengths up front. On board with French, you're looking at Dave Price. Into the S's. Somebody's off at the side of the road. That looks like Roger Davis. Not sure what's gone on there. He's not happy. It's a 16-lap final. Plenty of time to make ground. Darrell Lowe be hoping to pull clear. Martin Gurnett restarted. Tim Hill cheekily takes advantage of that to launch one up the inside of Lenny Wood. And he picks up a spot. And Hill moves into 11th place. Mark Turner now looking at the back of Lenny. Not much braking into turn 1. Oh, there's another yellow flag out, prevents a move there. Oh, but not Stuart Kirk, who nearly drills Nicholas Reynolds. So Cottle goes back through, and you know what? He's gonna chance it up the inside himself in a hairpin too. Back under green flag racing. And once again, it looks as though Jeffrey Williams has been off the track as he goes a lap down on Darrell Lowe. Oh, he's fallen in an awkward spot for Jonathan Elliott. Elliott could be under pressure here from Simon Lloyd into turn 1. Williams needs to get out the way. Oh, he turns in and takes the racing line. And Elliott's not too happy with that one. Now he's going to go through in hairpin 1, and Townley now on the inside of Simon Lloyd. Williams really needs to pull wide, slow down, get out of the way. He's not been the most cooperative driver to lap. Sweeping through the S's, and Townley's just about holding off Julian Clist. So Townley came out of that one really quite badly. Turner to the inside of Lenny Wood. Down the inside, and Turner trying to get into the top 10. Eric Mignon inside of Mark Turner. Mark's not having it, fighting it out, and James Hattersley on his bumper, trying to decide who to follow through Cafe Curve. Picked the wrong horse there, got on the bumper of Mark Turner, and Eric Mignon had the corner, and they go on to lap 5. Tim Hill moving up into the top 10 now, ahead of Paul Williams. Through the S's. Downhill, it's a 16-lap final. Great racing in heavyweights, great racing in Club 100 completely. It's been a good day's racing at Buckmore Park. Great circuit to drive at any time of the year, but especially during the summer. Always a popular event. Hattersley looking to the inside of Mark Turner. Can't get it done, so Hattersley has to stay in 15th place. On board with Tim Hill, you're looking at the back of Michael Ballinger. Ballinger looks inside, he needed to cover that off, not take a look. Tim Hill moves through to 9th. And it looks as though Jonathan Elliott is closing in on his main championship rival, or at least the closest driver to him in the championship, Darrell Lowe. Lenny Wood takes a pop at Paul Williams. Williams keeps the spot. Williams in 11th. And it's still fairly frantic behind in the midfield. Darrell Lowe coming under pressure now from Jonathan Elliott. He'll know he's there. Dave Price in 3rd ahead of Simon Lloyd. Dan French, Mike Townley. Stuart Kirk to the inside of Nicholas Reynolds. That's for 16th place. Cottle trying to go around the outside of Reynolds. Oh, Reynolds squeezing him to the grass. He doesn't want to give it up, and Ben's a bit surprised with that. Back up front, if you look ahead, Jonathan Elliott's down the inside of Darrell Lowe for the lead, but he goes in deep, squares it off, and Darrell Lowe's going to squeeze back through into the S's. It's game on at the front now. Lowe, Elliott, Price, gap to Lloyd. French, Townley, Julian Clist and James Canham beyond. Once again, Lowe goes narrow to hold off Johnny Elliott. And it all comes back together. Lenny Wood to the inside of Paul Williams, and that's for 11th. Battles right through the field. We're back on board with Mark Turner looking at Eric Mignon. And here comes Dan French inside of Simon Lloyd, looking to the inside into hairpin 1. Must be going through. Oh, look at that. Mike Townley fishing for a cheap spot. Mark Turner on Eric Mignon down the inside. Will he hold the spot? I think he will. Darrell Lowe leads. Leading out Jonathan Elliott ahead of Dave Price, and Dan French wants to get in on the action up front. He's sniffing a trophy here in the main A final, and it looks as though Elliott's been pushed in deep by Dave Price in a paddock, and Price is going up the inside. Elliott trying to close the door. He's got away with that on. French has jumped in. Simon Lloyd round the outside of Price, up a cafe curve. Lift somebody, he's over the grass, but he's hanging on. Down the inside. Dan French on a mission. Simon Lloyd on the bumper of Dave Price. Townley to the inside at hairpin 1. He tried this the last lap. It didn't work then, it doesn't work now. And Clist is going to punish him down the inside. It does work. Mike Townley goes through. James Canham under pressure from Tim Hill, side by side through the S's. It's all kicking off here in the Mayday final. Cottle side by side with Reynolds. Canham laden hard down the inside of Julian Clist. Can't get it done. Here comes Tim Hill. He's picking that one up cheap from Canham. Well, we're going to have to take a breath here. I'm going to burst a blood vessel. So Ben Daly down at the back of the field trying to move up. Let's go back further forward. Canham trying to get that spot back from Tim Hill. We're on lap 10 of 16. I don't think I can take another 5 laps of this. So I'll take a deep breath, take another tranquilizer. Darrell Lowe leads by 0.6 of a second now ahead of Dan French, who's got Jonathan Elliott close behind. Then Dave Price, then gap to Lloyd. Townley, Clist on board with Hill. You can't go through there. That was Leighton, that was a little bit too optimistic. I think Clist has held the spot. Turner's going to go through on Paul Williams. And Lenny Wood continues to hang on to 11th place. So Dan French is running down. Oh, that didn't work. He took a shot and he missed, and Townley hasn't got it done. He's going to try again. Canham to the inside of Hill. And he gets the spot back. I think Hill's going to go for it though. Down the inside into hairpin 2. Clist on the cut back. Canham might find himself boxed in. Oh, it's all getting a little bit too busy. James Hattersley goes round the outside. I think that's a Paul Williams. Down through the S's. Martin Gurnett trying to find a way past Nicholas Reynolds. It's in the midfield. A little bit further forward, Lenny Wood and Mark Turner. Oh, getting your wheels inside, Hattersley. Can he get it done? It's covered off into Cafe Curve, back up front. Dan French looking for the lead now. Somehow Darrell Lowe is hanging on to lead this one. Jonathan Elliott inside of Dan French. And Dave Price moves back through, and my God, we're back where we were about 3 laps ago. With Darrell Lowe leading Jonathan Elliott, Dave Price and Dan French. He's a slow starter, seems to wake up and come to life as the finals unfold. But we've got 4-way at the front, fighting over the podium steps. And then a gap then to Simon Lloyd, Mike Townley. And a gap to Tim Hill. Hill coming through the field and pushing hard. Trying to get on the podium. Townley got up close and then ran wide in turn 1. French to the inside of Dave Price. Trying to get to third. He's on the wrong side for hairpin 2. So French has to follow. And Reynolds is trying to get inside of Martin Gurnett to get the position back, I believe. That would be for about 17th place, I think. Ben Cottle in the mix. Side by side, it's all getting a little bit busy, a little bit frantic. Ben Daly losing out to Ben Cottle. Time to reset this field. Darrell Lowe leads by 0.2 of a second from Jonathan Elliott. Dave Price, Dan French. Gap then to Simon Lloyd in 5th. Mike Townley, Tim Hill, James Canham, Julian Clist and Michael Ballinger round out the top 10. Lenny Wood is the leading super heavyweight in 11th. That was James Hattersley going down the inside of Mark Turner for 12th. And we're 2.5 laps from the finish. Through the S's. There's Canham, Clist, Ballinger in 10th. Oh, look at this. Darrell Lowe under a lot of pressure now from Jonathan Elliott. And Dave Price wants to be by. Once again, Darrell has to cover off at Garda, make him slow at the corner, and French takes advantage of Dave Price once again as he gets pushed backwards by Jonathan Elliott, who in turn is right up under the bumper of Darrell Lowe. At least he was. Top of the circuit. Looks as though Darrell's pretty quick. Probably means that Jonathan isn't going to be able to do this on the last lap. I'd have to go a bit early, and it looks as though it's probably going to be down either in one of these hairpins as Price goes down the inside of French. Dave's going to run him out wide. Daniel's going to go side by side. Simon Lloyd's in there, and here comes Mike Townley. And it's all kicking off once again. And it looks as though Jonathan Elliott has got Darrell Lowe to himself, who goes in deep. Lowe's on the defensive. He covers it off and he opens up to take the corner. And what a move from Jonathan Elliott. If he can get into centre, he's through. What a good move from Jonathan Elliott. And Darrell Lowe's got work to do now if he wants to beat him. Simon Kirk into the side of Paul Williams. So it's Jonathan Elliott leading out onto the final lap ahead of Darrell Lowe, Dave Price, Dan French, Simon Lloyd and Mike Townley, and don't rule out Tim Hill. He's on the back of the group now, into the hairpin, and it's a bit of a change as Townley goes to on Lloyd. So it's Elliott. Oh, he got the entrance to the S's a little bit wrong. He's got Darrell Lowe under his bumper. He's missed the apex in Sime's sweep. Darrell Lowe's going to get one shot here, and he's not close enough. Jonathan Elliott covers off to Garda, as Darrell thought he had, but hadn't. Dave Price going round the outside and into centre, side by side. This will give a chance to Dan French, but it's win number 10 for Jonathan Elliott, and here comes Dan French down the inside of Dave Price to get on the podium behind Darrell Lowe. Mike Townley and Simon Lloyd and Tim Hill round out the top 7.
Our top 3 ended up like this. Third position then, going to driver number 31, Daniel French. Runner-up then led the race for the majority of the race, and got caught and passed a couple of laps from the end, but finishing runner-up today. Well done, driver number 39, Darrell Lowe. Our race winner then, and we've used to seeing him on the top step pretty much every round apart from, I think, Red Lodge, and he's done it. He's come through and taken the lead on the penultimate lap and held it there to take the race winner maximum points. Your winner today, driver 51, Jonathan Elliott. Well done, Johnny. I have to say it's been a terrific day's racing today, but through the lightweights, the clubmans, the heavyweights, premiers, thank you very much. It's good to watch, guys, so spread the love, please, Jonathan. Thank you very much indeed. Okay, next round, we're still racing in August. Bank holiday down to South Wales. If you want weather like this, we're going to get it down there. I've already ordered it.